I'd like to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters and the mercy and compassion of the grand predecessor, senior transmitters, temple masters, lecturers, speakers for giving me this opportunity to talk about today's topic, which is chapter 11 of the Tao Te Ching, or Classic of the Way and the Virtue. So this is a relatively short chapter. As a matter of fact, of all the 11 chapters that we have covered so far, this is the second shortest chapter. The shortest chapter, anybody know? Chapter 6, Valley Spirit. I'll talk about the Valley Spirit. But anyway, okay, that was a short chapter. So this is the second so far, right? I think there's one in the back in the future that will be short too. But this one's going to be also short. So it's only composed of let's see, 1, 2, 3. Depending on how you do the punctuation, it's 1, 2, 3, like 4 sentences. Four sentences. And each sentence has 2 phrases, if you will. Okay, 2 phrases. So it's 4 or 5 sentences, depending on how you do the punctuation. But that's relatively short. Okay, so I've broken it down as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phrases. Okay, all right. So let's start with the first. You guys can all see, right, the screen right here, right? Okay, so it's chapter 11. Now as hopefully you guys will know, the Tao Te Ching doesn't have, headings or chapter names, okay? So, it just goes by, chapters, okay? But commentators later on give them names, okay? So this time it's chapter 11 is, first of all, the chapter name is to use to say, tell us what is the full main theme or main subject, if you will, of the chapter of what Lao Tzu is writing about. Okay, so this is called the Xu Zong Zang. Okay, Zang means chapter. Okay, Xu literally means void or emptiness. Zong, okay, Zong has many meanings. Has many nuances and context. Zong could also represent the Tao, but that's not here. Even though you may say, but in this case, it's just very simple. It just means in the middle, center, that. Okay, so we're within, or you can say within emptiness or the void. Okay, so that's basically the subject. Okay, the subject of this chapter. All right. Okay, or the main topic, if you will. Okay. All right. So the first phrase of the first sentence, first half of the phrase, is 30 spokes join in one hub. Okay, so 30福共一故 or 故 共一故 okay, so 福 means spokes. Okay, 30, you know what this is, 30. Okay 310. Okay, 310s. Okay, that's okay. So 福 means spokes. Okay, those spokes of wheel. How a wheel has those you can say these are support struts that radiate, that come from the center, right? The center, the hub or the axle, if you will, of the wheel, and it extends outward, right, to the edge of the wheel or the circumference of the wheel. Okay, okay. Gong means to share all together in common. Okay, join in. Okay, and then the igu, it's a hub. Okay, the center where the wheel, where the spokes come together. Okay. So the basic meaning of the phrase is, it just represents, you can say, it's a cycle displaying the difference between substance and emptiness, and which I'll go into a little bit detail a little bit later. That is the 30 spokes. The 30 spokes represent the substance, while the hole, there's an empty hole, right, in the hub, for the axle, right, for the wheel to turn, to rotate. It represents emptiness. Okay, so there's substance and emptiness. Okay, another you can say interpretation of this phrase. You can say it's the wheel in general represents in Buddhism samsara, the cycle of birth and death and rebirth. It actually, that's in Buddhism, right? But actually, it's broader than that. It just represents a cycle. So the in Buddhist, what do they call that? Tankas. Tanka means Buddhist paint. It's not a painting. It's a sand painting, if you want to be more precise. they draw a lot of wheels, like the chakra. Okay, the wheels represent, the cycle of life, the cycle of nature, the cycle of the cosmos, really. Okay, beginning and end. So the wheel also could mean that, if you look at, and I don't have that map here, but there's some, if you look at the yin and yang, the Tai Chi graph or map, it shows, one black, one white, right? They like, turn around each other. So that's a whole cycle, and that cycle represents many things, right? On the from the grand scale to the micro scale, to the cycle of human life or cycle of the earth, human existence, and then to the cycle of the cosmos. But so that's what it could mean too. Okay, so but here's another meaning. It's also more, how can I say, more specific. Here's another understanding. Okay, typically, in this cycle of where we have, emptiness and substance, right? Something and nothing, right? Or you can say existence, non-existence, etc., etc. Okay, so those are, more, different aspects. Okay, but generally speaking, we all tend, because we are living in a in a physical realm, right? Phenomena. So there's existence, right? We exist. We have existence. So we tend to, most people tend to view having something, having or substance. It's good. It's positive. While having nothing, or you can say okay, is negative. It's not. Lao Tzu is not saying that. What he's basically saying is that there's no one preference on it. It's just a natural cycle. Actually, Lao Tzu, which we will talk about in the conclusions, that you need both. Okay, you need balance. Okay, but anyway, all right. So the deeper meaning is this: a substance is needed to have benefit, to create benefit. Yeah, to have usefulness, right? To have usefulness. But emptiness is needed to create the function. So both substance and emptiness are needed. And I'll get into a little bit details. That's what the later next two, three phrases, the next four phrases or two sentences will go into more detail explaining that. Okay. So the higher understanding is this: is emptiness and function have to coexist. They coexist, or you can say they complement, or they have to, how can I say, they, one leads to the other. Maybe that's another way of saying. Okay, so it's similar to concomitance of essence and functions, essence and existence. So it's 即用沾染. Okay, that's a phrase. Okay, that's in Buddhism. Okay, it's also, you can say 即照同时. That's similar. 即照同时. Okay. All right, but the key point is for right now, the first phrase is just for anything to exist, to create benefit. Okay, that is, anything to exist. So you have an object, right? For example, to create. The void or emptiness is necessary in order for anything to function. Okay, hence all substance comes from emptiness or void, and emptiness and void accommodates, accepts, and tolerates everything. Okay, so its essence. Emptiness is essential, not just substance alone. Okay, so that's very important understanding. Okay, so because we tend to, and there's a reason for this, because if emptiness is not essential, it's not necessary, in other words, right, and only substance is, then that's called materialism. In philosophy, in Western philosophy, that's called materialism, and that's wrong. Okay, because substance alone itself has to come from someplace, and also they don't exist forever, right? They have a beginning and end, right? So they have to come from something. And where do they come from? It's the emptiness that they come from. But anyway, okay. So we'll talk about that later in more detail. Okay. So then the second half of the second phrase of the first sentence, if you will, it's in its emptiness there is the function of a vehicle, right? Remember, we're talking, the first sentence is talking about the wheels, right? The wheels, okay? So Lao Tzu was saying that okay, yeah, a wheel is made up of, substance and emptiness. Okay, in the sense that substance, is represented by the spokes, right? The struts, that's tangible, right? But it all revolves, or turns from its center, which is what? Empty, right? It's an empty space. That's how you can use a axle, right? To make the wheel turn. So once you have that empty space, now this is using physical example, right? That allows that wheel to function. So that's what it is. So in its emptiness, there is the function of a vehicle. Now, vehicle is what uses wheels, right? Okay, so I don't want you to go to the definition because so the first word means during, in, at, what should be. Qi means it, in this case, empty. Okay, third word is empty, not alone. Okay, it's in this case because in Taoism or in Tao or Lao Tzu's Tao, they don't use the word kong. Okay, that's a Buddhist term, if you will, or Buddhist usage. Okay, and throughout the Tao Te Ching, it's always this word wu. Okay, so wu obviously represents many things, right? But it also means empty. Besides no, not, without, etc. Okay, so it in Taoism, usually the term wu you can say if it's used to mean empty, right? It's the synonymous or same as in Buddhist term, the Buddhist sutras, the word kong or empty, okay, or void, okay, same thing, all right. So meaning of the fourth word means yo, means to have, okay. It's the opposite of wu or kong, okay. So yo, okay, yo is the opposite of that. That means to have, to exist, right? To have something, to possess, okay. Okay, this is possessive article. Okay, yong, another word, yong. Yong means, literally it means use or usefulness, utility, or to, that's the noun. The verb is to apply, to employ, to use, to drink, even to drink or to eat. 有没有用饭, right? Okay, so that means to eat or drink, to eat. Okay, so that just means functionality. Okay, we're going to use it as a noun, right? Because it's of, okay, of the functionality, okay, or the function of. Okay, so the basic meaning of that phrase is that any kind of vehicle, right, needs a space for it to function, right? Okay, so, all right, space, needs a space, okay, empty space, okay, to function, in order to function, okay, or to function, or to be utilized, okay, to be able to utilize it. Okay, so another meaning is this: any kind of transportation with or without wheels, okay, must have empty space, okay, for passengers to occupy, to enter and exit, where we can sit inside the empty space. Okay, yeah, right? Because otherwise, if a vehicle is made of a solid, whatever, steel or whatever solid material, well, what good is that? It can't carry a person, it can't carry a cargo, right? Okay, so you need empty space. So this is a very, okay, so but there's a deeper meaning, is to the application utility of emptiness, okay? The whole point of it is, what Lao Tzu is saying is that emptiness creates a function of anything, of something. In this case, it's a vehicle, because he's talking about the wheels, right? The wheels. So he's saying a wheel will function properly, right? I mean, as a wheel, if it needs a space. And a wheel can be used in a vehicle, right? In a vehicle. And the vehicle is only useful, if it has an empty space, right? So that it can what? Transport passengers, cargo, etc., right? Okay, so that's the general gist, okay? So the higher understanding is this: both function and void have to be together, have to be merged together, okay? You can't just have function stand alone by itself and void alone by itself, okay? So that's why, okay? So the implication is this: both essence and existence are merged together, are one, okay, are inseparable. And that gets to the whole point of the Tao, if you want to read that. Tao is actually, we say, we all say, oh, the Tao is different from religion because the Tao talks about, emptiness. But actually the Tao is not just about emptiness. Its essence is empty. Yes, its essence. Banti, it's essence. You can say it's essence, it's empty, because it's formless. But it has a function also. The essence also functions, right? Also has a function, has a use, you can say, has uses, has applications, okay? So that's why we all say 真空妙有, right? True emptiness, marvelous existence, right? 真空妙有, okay? All right. That's really in Buddhism, but it's the same idea as Tao. Okay, so the key point is this. As cultivators, we must be at one with our Buddha nature, which is our essence, and conducts, which is our functions, right? So we have a body, right? Just because we have a body, but if we, okay, well, we'll talk about that in the next couple phrases too. Third phrase, third sentence, as a matter of fact, to be more precise. But basically what we're saying is that a body without the essence, i.e. the Buddha nature, is what? It's useless, right? It's a corpse. It's called a corpse, or not non-living, right? It's because there's a body with the essence. That's what makes it allows us to be alive, right? To be able to, what? To function, to be useful, right? To do things, okay? So and it's very similar to the phrase in the Doctrine of the Ming, right? 中庸, which says 率性之为道, okay? It's in accordance with the nature. It's called the Tao. Okay, that's all I was going to say. So that's why essence and function are merged in one. That is the Tao. Okay, or 真空妙有. You could use that phrase, etc., etc. Okay, all right. So the first line basically kind of lays out the overall intro. Okay, intro to the chapter, and it's the preface, you can say. Okay, it's like the intro. Now the second two lines, the next two sentences rather, or four phrases, it's a little bit more specific, and that's where we talk about more in detail. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, so the third phrase, if you will, the second line, is talking about clay, mixing clay. Okay, so he's saying, mix the clay to create a container or a vessel, or actually, let's go to the definition. Okay, this means 三之. Okay, it means literally to mix water with clay to make pottery. It can mean to foster too, but in this case it means, because it deals with the container, so we're talking about mixing water with clay to make pottery, okay, or ceramic. Okay, the fourth 以为 means to serve as, okay, for the purpose of, okay, 以为, okay, all right. Then the last word 气, okay, literally, last word 气 literally means, it can mean implement, device, tool, utensil. Okay, also means container, receptacle, vessel. Okay, so basic meaning of this phrases means that in order to become a container, clay needs to be mixed with water and molded into a form and then fired into shape, right? Okay, so that's very, very superficial, very basic meaning of this phrase. But actually another meaning is this, and this is the more deeper meaning, okay, higher understanding, is that a container vessel is a metaphor for a mind. Okay, for the mind, not for the body, but for the mind. Okay, we'll talk about the body next. Okay, in the third sentence, third sentence, which is the fifth and sixth phrases. Okay, so the deeper meaning is this. Okay, deeper meaning is this. It's just like in ceramics, right? We need to mold our character, because we're talking about mind, right? The character, mind. You can say our mind, same thing. To be empty of attachments, desires, ego, greed, rage, ignorance, doubt. These are three poisons, right? These are part of the five messengers, five agents, five messengers. Okay, in order to establish virtuous merits and nurture our forbearance. So, for example, the 4 subjects or courses of cultivation talks about that. Okay, so that's why I want to just let you guys know what the 4 courses are. You guys should know what they are, right? Here's what they are. Oh, sorry, look at the wrong one. Okay, what's the 4 subjects, 4 courses? It's these. Okay, it's moral character, merits and virtues, tolerance or refinement, and proprieties. Okay, or ethical conduct. Okay, so that's the 4 subjects. Okay, or 4 courses of cultivation. So, oops. Okay, not this one. Okay, so that's the deeper meaning, that when we're, Lao Tzu is saying, he's you can say philosopher or whatever. What's he, what's the point of he's trying to tell us about how to make clay pottery. I mean, by mixing clay with sand or mixing clay with water, it's not that meaning. What he's talking about is our human mind, okay, our mind, right? What we should be, be doing, cultivating, okay? All right. So the key point is this: by emptying our mind of all worldly matters, okay, 心里面不要有东西 and affairs, 不要有事情, then our minds will be empty. Okay, John. That is the mind of no mind. The empty mind will be able to accommodate everything, 空虚能够容纳万事万物. So our minds will be upright and pure. Literally, it means 心地光明. 心地光明 means bright mind, literally, but it means pure and upright mind, okay, or person, okay, character. All right? So that's what Lao Tzu was hinting at. Okay, not about telling us, stating the obvious. Yeah, mix clay with water to create a cup or pottery. That's the obvious stuff, right? I mean, that's not what he's saying. I mean, he doesn't need to say those words, right? He's using this as a metaphor about our human mind. Okay, all right. How it should be molded, right? How it should be, how we have to shape it, right? Shape the clay to make something, right? A pottery, a pot. Etc., right? Okay, so same thing, we have to shape our mind. We have to mold our minds, okay? All right. Okay, then the next, so this is the second sentence, first phrase, okay? Then the second half, well, the first half, second half of the phrase, or of the sentence is, in its emptiness, now he's talking about, in its emptiness, there is the function of a container. It's kind of stating the obvious, right? From the first line. Okay, so basically, just like the hole in the middle of it makes it function as part of a vehicle, okay, the empty space in the middle of a container makes it functional as a container, obviously, right? Okay, so whatever container we are using what? Or utilizing its empty space within, okay? So now this is this is kind of obvious, right? Stating the obvious. Yeah, I have a cup. A cup better have an empty space in the middle for me to be able to use it or make use of it as a cup to fill tea, water, etc., right? Bowl, same thing. Pot, same thing. Okay. So now, what the metaphor is, remember, we say the first half of this sentence is about the mind, right? The vessel is the mind. So he's saying in the emptiness, there is the function for the mind, which is, if look at it this way. If our mind is already filled with worldly attachments and desires, then how will we be able to utilize our Buddha nature? Remember, our Buddha nature is empty, right? It's the essence, right? It's the essence. So it's formless, so therefore it's empty, right? It doesn't have a form, right? It's intangible. All right, so recall chapter 9, 慈隐章, right? Okay, so I don't want to go into detail. You should already know all the details in it that talks about how do we maintain an empty mind and be able to achieve, right, accomplish things from our Buddha nature. Okay, so that's what he's saying. So the higher understanding is this: with an empty mind, we will be able to function in accordance with our Buddha nature. That is, be a new person and no longer the old person, right? Great learning, right? We know about that, right? We talked about great learning. Didn't we talk about great learning? Let's see. Where's great learning? Let's talk about great learning here. Okay, great learning. Chapter 1, paragraph 1, verse 1. Okay, it's this. All right, okay. Right? So, okay, yeah, I'm not talking about this first half because it talks about the first 4 words, because that talk about this, okay? What is what comprises great learning? It's the great learning of the Tao. Okay, that's what makes learning a great learning. Okay, but I'm talking about this sentence, this phrase is really here. It's really here. Okay, it's in what? Where's the translation? Realize and cultivate our true nature. Okay, we'll become a new person and no longer the old person, which is the habitual nature or the human nature that is not in accord with the true principle, right? Or with the Tao. And then means to achieve the state of true self, we need to, okay, all right? So that's what, okay, Lao Tzu was referring to, that only if we have an empty mind, that is, we can allow the Buddha nature to be in control, to take over, or to guide us. Because if we have empty mind, we don't have any right? Worldly attachments and desires, right? Okay, so that's what the Xin Kong Xu, okay? All right, so the implication is this. If our minds are filled, using the metaphor of a vessel or container, if it's a solid container with, if our minds are filled like a solid container with worldly knowledge, we will not be able to utilize our Buddha nature wisdom. That's for sure, right? We're going to use human nature, human knowledge, etc., right? Okay, so the key is this. We must empty our minds, that is the cup, right? The cup, 心里面空虚, in order to manifest our original brightness, Buddha nature, our Buddha nature, okay? All right, so that's the key point. So he's talking about the mind here. He's not talking about the cup or pottery or whatever, okay? Pot, okay? He's referencing, it's our mind. Our mind has to have an empty space, i.e. our Buddha nature, in order to function properly, okay? Or to display our Buddha nature. Okay, here's the third sentence, okay? Third sentence, the beginning of the third sentence. Now he's talking about a room, okay? A room. Okay, so he says, the Chinese for this means 凿, right? 凿means to chisel, to cut open. Okay, so cut open doors, 户, and windows to create a room. Okay, so first word means to 凿means to chisel, to pierce. Okay, 户means who. It's a door. Okay, it can mean household, family. Okay, 户. This is who means one door. Actually, 门, right? There's another Chinese word for door, 门. 门 is two doors. Okay, two panel. It's a two-panel door. 户 is a one-panel door. If you really want to be strict, okay? So, 门 is a two-panel door, or I guess in today's vernacular or today's real estate agents' language, they would say French doors, right? They call it French doors. It's it's two panels, okay? All right. And then this word, 有 means, it's an ancient word. I mean, it's an old word. I mean, they don't use this word anymore. It's window. Now, the verb means to enlighten. Today they use 窗户. But anyway, okay. 四 means chamber, room, abode, house, home. Okay. All right. So the basic meaning is this. In order to have a room, that is, it's a benefit, right? To have a room, right? We can find shelter, right? Away from rain, wind, cold, etc. One must open the walls to access the room, function of a space. Okay. All right. The additional understanding is this. In order to use the room, one must be able to access it. Thus, there must be an entry, a door. So thus, having an opening the wall gives the room its functionality, right? Okay, because you could have a room, you could have a box, okay? No doors, no windows. What good is it? Okay, you may be empty inside, but there's no access, right? No way to get in and out, right? Okay, so anyway, that's very basic understanding, okay? That's kind of obvious. But the metaphor is this, okay? Oops, sorry. The metaphor is really this, okay? It's Lao Tzu is using this form, the form of a room with door and windows, is to explain or understand. It's a metaphor borrowing this room to explain the formless, i.e. the essence, the Buddha nature. So it's to utilize, it's 借有形以喻无形. Okay, 喻 means to understand, to explain. Okay. It means to utilize the illusory form, which is substance, right, to realize the true essence. Okay, so remember we talk about the second sentence, which is the third and fourth phrases, just a little bit above. We talk about the mind, right, the container. Well, the who and the room, in this case, you can say represents our bodies. Okay, our human body. Okay. So from the mind to the human body, okay? So the benefit of our body, the room, it says, is for us to apply our Buddha nature, emptiness in everyday life, okay? So that's the function, right? Remember I gave an example, right? I said, well, not an example, but I said previously, right? If our mind is so full of attachments, so we will not be able to function in accordance with our Buddha nature, to, i.e. our conducts, our thoughts, our words, and our conducts will not be in line or aligned with our Buddha nature. It will be aligned with our what? Worldly thoughts, attachments, desires, etc., right? So now what Lao Tzu is saying is that, the room, i.e. like our body, has to have an empty, there's an empty space inside, right? That represents our, remember I say our mind or our Buddha nature, our essence, okay? So by allowing that emptiness to exist, or to using that emptiness, to make a room, for example, it's to help us, to allow us to, conduct ourselves, our bodies, ourselves, properly in alignment or in accordance with that essence, which is our Buddha nature, which is empty, right? Okay? So then the second half of the third line sentence is that, therefore, in its emptiness, there is a function of a room. Okay, that's the literal translation. So it just means that the utility of the room is in its emptiness, right? Obviously, right? Having empty space gives a room its function, right? That's another understanding, right? Okay, so really the usefulness or the benefit of anything, it's due to its empty space or its function, okay? So here's where the more important thing is this, okay? It's after our minds are empty, right? Without any material desires, right? The bright mind, our, Buddha, Buddha nature wisdom will manifest. We will attain proper knowledge and proper view of our Buddha nature. That is the Buddha, or we call it Buddha knowledge, okay? It's proper knowledge, proper view, okay? It can be said, if you reach the highest point, it's the same as Buddha knowledge and Buddha view, okay? So similar to what Confucius talked about in the 8 stages, Ba Tiao Mu of the Great Learning, okay? Chapter 1, 4th and 5th paragraphs, okay? So that is, okay, down here. Okay, 8 stages, right? The 8 stages. It's the first stage is to let go of attachments, go, okay? Just remove all material desires, etc., all that, okay, all that stuff, okay? And then the next step, once you could do that, you attain the, you can say, the truth. At the highest level. That's the truth. Okay, it just means that you, manifest our heavenly conscience, okay, which is our Buddha nature conscience. Okay, so that innate knowledge and ability of ethics is the proper knowledge and view. Remember I talk about, which is Buddha's view, knowledge and view. Okay, fu zi fu jian. Okay, that's what I said right here. Right, proper view, proper knowledge, same as the Buddha view, Buddha knowledge. Okay, so that's what the 8 stages talked about. Okay, at the high level. Okay, not the surface level. Surface level just means book learning, book knowledge, or science knowledge, okay? But this is beyond, okay? All right, that's what it means, okay? All right, so the key point is this. We have to rid ourselves of barriers to our Buddha nature. So all that attachments, desires, all that, the 3 poisons, the 5 messengers, the 5, five king views, all of that, okay? We have to get rid of all that, okay? Once we get rid of all that, okay, that means there are no more barriers, right? For our essence, or that empty space, that emptiness, that void, to show, to display, which is our Buddha, which is our knowledge of conscience, our conscience, okay, of ethics and conscience, which is our proper view, proper knowledge, okay? Okay, so then we can be able to utilize the marvelous or limitless heavenly virtues of our Buddha nature. Remember from last chapter, right? Talk about mystic virtues, okay? So that's what it is, okay? All right, so let's go now. Okay, so now we're done with the first 3 sentences, okay? We're almost, am I? Oh, not yet, okay. Okay, now we're at basically the last 2 phrases. Some people, it's last two phrases, or the last sentence. Remember I said there were only like 4 sentences, 8 phrases or something like that, right? Okay, in this chapter. So this is the conclusion now. He's concluding. Okay. Okay. So basically, he's saying, therefore, that which exists, though, which is substance, is used for what? To create a benefit. Okay. To create a use. Okay. To be able to be useful. Okay. To be utilized. So basically, material substance is this. Remember, I talked about exists to benefit living beings in this world. Okay. Right? Okay, so that's kind of obvious, okay? I hope so, anyway. Okay, so it's kind of basic, very superficial, okay? So this, another meaning is this is the yang complement. So remember I said this conclusion line has two phrases. The first phrase here and then a phrase at the end, okay? So this is the yang component. Remember I said yin and yang at the very beginning, right, at the intro line, saying that to have 有 跟无, right? 有 means to have substance. It's the yang component. 因 无 is nothing, right? It's nothingness or emptiness. It's the yin component. So these are complements, right? These two. So the key is that these two have to be combined, okay, come together, okay? So basically substance represents the yang. Remember I talked about that, okay? So here's the deeper meaning. Okay, so this is the external. Then we'll talk about the internal. Once again, it's a yin and yang idea. Okay, all right, yin and yang. So you need both. Okay, so external is basically our body is the material essence, substance, right? It exists. It has a form, shape, size, etc., etc. Right? Okay, so that's what he's talking about, right? This. Okay. So the higher understanding is this: we want to borrow this material substance, this form, if you will. To borrow the external, because we're talking about the body now, right? As opposed to the mind, okay, which is the second half of this sentence. Okay, to borrow the external to understand the internal. So Lao Tzu is using all these external or tangible examples, right? The container, vehicle, container, and a room or house, right? You know, using these physical objects, forms, okay, to allude to or to reference to something that's intangible, you know, or internal. You can say internal, right? Okay, our mind is internal, our body is external, right? Okay, so basically the implication of this sentence, this phrase is basically is the benefits of a wheel, right? Okay, right? That the first sentence, the container second sentence, and the room or in the third sentence, are the usefulness of a wheel that allows a vehicle to move, usefulness of a container to hold things, usefulness of a room to access space for rest, work, storage, etc. Okay, so basically, what Lao Tzu is saying is that for any these things, these forms or whatever, you know, like a wheel, container, room, to be able to function or to have a function, to have a benefit, they must have a function. And that function is created by empty space, by emptiness, okay, by void. So it's beneficial to have life in this world, in this material world, right? That it's a benefit, right? We to be able to live, right? To live, okay. So that's a benefit in this. But there is a purpose and value to this this life, okay, to this life, okay. So he was hinting at, okay, that it's not just the physical existence that matters. There's the other side, which is the, you know, the purpose, value, etc. Okay, all right. And then here's the this is the last phrase. He says that which is empty is used to create the functionality. Okay. So basically, the meaning emptiness, it's the essence, okay, that creates the usefulness for all material substances, okay. Another meaning is, you know, we can say more emptiness creates more room, which gives more freedom, okay. So it doesn't have to be more flexibility, more freedom, more flexibility. Okay, the deeper meaning is the internal aspect, okay. It's this. It's that our essence or Buddha nature, which is formless, right, is empty. It's thus empty or void. So if we have a body, you know, right, a form, external form, but we lack the essence of Buddha nature, you say soul, spirit, okay, then this body is useless. It's a corpse, right? It can't think, it can't speak, it can't do anything. All right, so the higher meaning is this. He's saying the Tao is neither just existence, only existence, 不属于有, nor just emptiness. It's the merger of existence and emptiness. Okay? It's combination. It's both. It's that oneness. Okay? So, and it's very important because if we just talk about only existence, if we just say, if we are very stubborn and say, oh, only existence is real, that is, because I don't believe in the soul, spirit, none of that stuff, that's all wishful thinking or whatever, that's all imagination. Well, this is called materialism. I mentioned that. It's a philosophy, materialism. As a matter of fact, that's one of the schools of thought during Buddha's time. Okay, so Buddha was, he didn't have debates, but they have gurus from that philosophy, that school. It's one of the, I think, 6 or 8 schools, okay, of thinking, of philosophy during Buddha's time. One of them is called materialism. They question Buddha, say, oh, is the cosmos, and not just the human, it's not about human being, but is this cosmos eternal? You know that? They debated with Buddha. And Buddha, what was Buddha's response? They asked the Buddha a question, hey, is the cosmos eternal or not? What did Buddha say? Anybody know?
Silence.
Yeah, it's called the noble silence. Buddha did not answer. And here's why. I mean, Buddha did not explain it to those people, but he explained to his disciples because his disciples were wondering why. Ananda asked Buddha, why don't you respond? So Buddha explained to Ananda that he said, as long as we human sentient beings, I think he used the term, said, we have attachments. That's very important. We have attachment. Then the world, or i.e. the cosmos, exists. Make sense? Right? Makes sense. Right? Because and so in that line, that answer, Buddha already hinted at something. He said that only existence, i.e. the cosmos, comes from that mind, comes from the mind. Our Buddha, our essence, okay? It's our essence that allows our mind to think, right? To have desires, to have attachments. Get it? Right? So it's that essence that created the cosmos. Make sense? So it's very important, okay? So that's why Buddha did not respond, right? Because as long as humans or sentient beings, he said, have attachments, okay, then a world, the cosmos, will continue to exist. Very interesting. So if we don't have any more of that, which I don't know if it's possible because there's so many sentient beings, right? Therefore we have, parallel universes maybe, or whatever, okay. Infinite cosmos, because that's what the Avantasaka Sutra talked about, okay. But anyway, so the key is, that's why, when we had a topic about the 10 Dharma realms, right? The 10 Dharma realms. The 10th Dharma realm, the highest, or you say the Dharma Dhatu, there's no world. There's no physical world. It's indescribable, actually. To be fair, it's really indescribable. But you can say it's pure emptiness, or it's, ideal emptiness, whatever that means. It just means that, you're in a world where, we're at one, with our essence, with our Buddha nature. And I mean, it's not fair to say that, there's no existence, because it depends on what your mind, at that level would say. If you want to say, I want to create my own world, you can. That's how Buddha, that's why our holy teacher has what's his title? Says when he comes down from the Dharma Dhatu to heaven, Nanping San, right? I think it's called Nanping San, Southern something mountain, I don't know, Southern mountain, Southern Peak mountain, or something like that. So every Buddha, all the Buddhas, as a matter of fact, okay, have that, because they are in that Dharma Dhatu state. They're that, that oneness, that highest, whatever, that oneness state. They can create their own worlds, that? Just like they say, Omitofu, Amitabha has what? The Western world? Is that what they call it? The Xi Lai Si, right? The Western paradise. Western paradise. And other Buddhas have the Eastern, Southern, that? There are, okay? So all Buddhas have that power because their thought, just by their thought, they can create a cosmos, a world, okay? So the key is essence and function, and that's the function, okay? Just like the 10 liberations, right? Buddhas have 10 powers or whatever, 10 10 liberations. That's not power, it's more than powers. But anyway, Okay, so they have that. Okay, so but it all comes from that essence. Okay, it's very important. All right, so it's the merger. Okay, so Tao is not. We even though we tend to say in some classes we say the difference between Tao and religion, we say, oh, the Tao talks about its emptiness. It's actually more than just emptiness. It's both, really. It's both. Okay, but anyway, emptiness and existence. Okay, it has both. Okay, all right. So that's the deeper understanding. It's not just materialism, only existence, or only emptiness. Some people just say, oh, everything's empty. Everything is empty. That is true, but just because everything is empty doesn't mean that there's no existence. That's why there's that phrase, right? We say 真空妙有. That describes the Tao. Okay, true emptiness, marvelous existence. We have to have both. Okay, it's both. They're like two sides of a coin, if you will. So it's that one, the oneness. Okay, so the deeper understanding is this: all worldly realms is the merger of substance and emptiness. Okay, neither fixed or rigid, just on existence, nor fixed on emptiness. Okay, makes sense. Okay, emptiness is really there's a school of thought. I didn't talk about the other one. Remember I mentioned materialism, right? Guess what its opposite school is? There is a school, nihilism. That's dangerous, because then that means if you go to the deep end of nihilism, you might as well commit suicide, because then nothing exists after that. See, so that's very. It's a very what got that? It's a very I want to say it's a very unhappy philosophy. It's called nihilism. Okay, both existentialism and nihilism both are not correct. Okay, so we have to be very careful. Yeah. So when I say materialism, I also mean to say existentialism. Existentialism. That's the French school of thought. Okay, that's also an extreme end too. Okay. So the implication is this: with all the attachments of things and affairs in our minds, by ridding them all, our minds will become empty, which then we can deal with all the matters of this world, okay? And by dealing with them without any likes or dislikes, okay? 喜欢讨厌, okay? No, 没有喜欢讨厌, okay? By dealing them, you can say neutrally. I want to get that two-word term. I don't know if you guys want to know. And then we will not create karma, 不会造业, because there is neither acceptance nor rejection. 没有取舍, i.e. non-duality. So what I'm get to term is 无为. You can say in Taoist term it's called 无为, which means what? Non-conditionality. It basically means everything's unconditioned. It's not dual. It's non-dualistic. Okay. And we talked about subject-object duality in the last chapter, right? Didn't we talk about subject-object, right? Okay, so the key is if we treat things, right? Remember it says deal by ridding of all the attachments, etc. Our minds will be empty. That means our what? Buddha nature will manifest, right? Because there's nothing to block it, right? There's no attachments, no desires, no 3 poisons, the 5 wrong views, etc., etc. None of that, right? So what will display is our Buddha nature. And what is our Buddha nature? It's non-conditioned, right? It's 无为. It's not what? Dualistic. It's non-dualistic, right? So it's non-dualistic. So therefore, everything will be, how can I say, true or straightforward or whatever. Okay, so we won't create karma. The point is we will not create karma. Okay, so that's what the application is. Okay, or the implication. Okay, so here's the key point. Okay, it's called the middle path. Okay, that's called the middle path. It's the merger of both emptiness and substance, or substance and emptiness, and we are utilizing the middle path in our daily lives. Okay, it has to be daily life. It's like this in this worldly realm, not to be attached to one extreme. Here's this one extreme, okay, or the other. Okay, remember we talk about materialism and nihilism, or existentialism and nihilism. Okay, so we can't have materialism, which is substance. Okay, or you can say existentialism. Okay, nor just nihilism, which is emptiness. Okay. It's the reality which is neither of them, or the oneness of both. Okay, you have to have materials and emptiness, or substance and emptiness together. Okay, to have a harmonious balance between substance and emptiness. Okay, So this chapter, it's not that practical in the sense of telling us about how do you have an empty mind, etc. That's talked about in the previous chapters, right? Chapter 10, chapter 9, chapter 8, right? Like water, be like water, right? Okay, or chapter 7, which is selflessness, right? Or the non-self, if you will, non-ego. Okay, what this chapter is kind of like, he's restating. Lao Tzu was kind of re-emphasizing the importance of the principle, which is that we have both substance, but then there is a void or emptiness that gives the substance or gives the form its function and therefore benefit. Okay, so he's just kind of like refreshing or reminding us that that's still the key principle. Okay, and everything flows from that. Okay, right. It's about time, right? So about an hour. Yeah. Okay. So I've already taken a long enough time. So this is a very short chapter. Then the next chapter. So this is kind of like more theory. Yeah. Theory chapter, or it's just reminder of what the key principle is. Okay. That it's neither just have substance and neither just emptiness. Okay. It's really combined. They're merged as one. Okay. So that's the key, a reminder of the principle, okay, or you can say the principle. All right. So okay. So I'll stop here. I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, virtues, masters, compassion, mercy of the predecessors for giving this opportunity. And if I did not say anything correctly, I ask for the Buddha's forgiveness. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any questions?
Oh, yeah, questions. Very theory.
Joe has a question. Joe asks, can you explain if there is a difference between non-self and no-self?
Non-self and no-self?
Okay. Difference between the two? Okay.
That's right.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. Sometimes we use those two terms identically. Okay. Sometimes. Okay. I'm saying sometimes, but they have differences, subtle differences. Okay. The no self is more. How can I say? I would say more extreme, but it just means that there's no notion of I, no notion of I, the ego I, Okay, so here's the key. So in the four forms, the 四相, right? The first one we talk about the ego, right? So that's a no self. That is the self, the human mind, the mind, right? The conscience, the human consciousness. The human consciousness that represents the I, the ego, right? The I. That's the self. Okay, that we call self. So when we say no self, means that is not real or does not really exist. Okay, when we say not real, remember I said not real, right? Or illusory. Maybe that's a better term. It's called illusory. Illusory. Okay, it's an illusion. All right, so that's what the no self means. Now, non-self, it's not as extreme. You could say it just means that I don't have an ego, or I don't have, how can I say? I don't have, the arrogance or the conscious thoughts or mind of a person, of an ego of a person. Okay, so in depending on the context, okay, you can use it interchangeably. Sometimes to mean the same thing. Non-self or no self could mean that you don't have an ego, or that the human conscious mind or ego is not true, is not real. Okay, all right. Or non-self, you could say, like, I'm not selfish. Okay, not. You understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, so you can use it in those two different ways. So the non-self could represent, I'm not selfish. I'm not selfish. I don't
still
have.
imply that there's some self.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So it's not that extreme
Right.
as the no self. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's very
No self is very
Yeah.
you can say absolute type. Like I say, no ego.
Yeah.
Period. No I. No I. Non-self doesn't mean that
Not necessarily.
not you don't have an I. You could still have.
Right.
So you could say I'm selfless, but there's still an I.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's not as extreme. But sometimes, like I said, depends on the
Yeah, sometimes
context.
you use
Sometimes you use it interchangeably. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. So you can say non-self just means that you could be selfless. I'm not selfish. That's a non-self. Not no self. Okay, because you're still saying there's a me, there's an I. I am not selfish. Get it? I am not selfish. So that's non-self. That's not no self. You get it?
Right. Basically, no self is the Buddhist term anatta.
Yeah.
Anatta,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
there is no
yeah,
self.
yeah,
There
yeah,
is no
yeah,
self.
yeah. So it's not non-self precisely, right? Or no four forms.
Yeah.
The ego, the first one,
Right, that's
which is
part of- yeah.
not that's no self, not non-self. So that's the subtle difference. But sometimes we use it interchangeably. So it depends on your usage context. But if you want to be more precise, that's how the nuance is there. Okay, good. Nice. Good question. Yeah, that's a good question.
All right. Anything else? So the no self is anatta. That's the highest.
What?
I don't know. That's the highest.
It's the-
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but we have to be careful because that's the problem with our words, our language. Because then people will say, okay, if you say no self, then that means you are doing one extreme into total talk about self, right? Self versus no self. Yes, but here's the thing though, in the Parinirvana Sutra, Nibbana Jing, right? Before Parinirvana Buddha's time, he told Anatta that there's the 4德, right? You know the four virtues. There's the what's the four virtues? 常乐我净. He talked about 我 and I. Get it? But that I is not the ego I. Make sense? It's the Buddha nature I. You used to say it's the Buddha. It's the essence. You can say it's the essence. You understand? Okay. So depending, once again, see, like I say, a lot depends on the context. All right.
what you mean by that self?
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's get confusing. So you have to be careful. That's what I'm saying. So you're right. I can counter. I can counter against my response. My answer to Jill is that, well, but the Buddha mentioned in the Parinirvana Sutra, he says there's the four virtues. 常乐. 常 means permanence. 乐 means joy or happiness. 我 means I, and 常乐我净. 净 means pureness. Okay, so what did Buddha mean by that I? By that I in that Parinirvana Sutra. So now his I, that I, that 我, means the true self. Get it? It's not the ego self. It's the true self, the everlasting self. What's the everlasting self? Your essence. That's your essence. Get it? But then when we say no self, generally we're not talking about Buddha nature. We're talking about our human nature or our conscious mind. That's what I'm trying to say. Conscious mind. Ego. We're talking about the ego. Get it? So what Buddha was saying in that four virtues of nirvana, it's the technical term is four virtues of nirvana. That I, that 我, right? That 我. He's not talking about the ego. He's talking about the Buddha nature, the essence. Make sense? Okay. So make you get it clear?
The
Yeah.
essence is
Yeah.
oneness. the oneness.
It's pure, and it's also pure, and it's also permanent, right? Eternal, and it's also love, means joy, happy, because it has everything. It has 10,
Bliss,
10
isn't it?
yeah,
Bliss.
yeah, bliss, yeah, joy, bliss. It has the 10, what are the 10 liberations, all that. You have whatever you want.
All right.
You're self-sufficient. Okay, so
Okay.
make sense? Good, we good.